Dear viewers, welcome to UGC series of lectures. This time I will talk about gene interactions. After the rediscovery of Mendel's laws, there were reports of an inheritance pattern that differed from those established by Mendel. Attempts were made by many researchers to explain such phenomenon. They concluded that no gene acts by itself in determining an individual's phenotype. Rather, it is the result of highly complex and integrated molecular reactions that are under direct gene control. Since genes are located in the same nuclei of the same cells, so it is not surprising that the expression of an allele of one gene will sometimes change the expression of one or more of the alleles of the second gene. This interaction of two or more separate genes in the development of the single phenotypic character is known as non-allelic or intergenetic interaction. Most morphological traits like height and color are affected by multiple genes. It is the genetic analysis that identify the genes which interact for the particular biological property. The key markers of identification is that two interacting genes produce modified dihybrid ratios. There are various types of interactions and these lead to a range of different modifications. Broadly speaking, two types of interactions occur. Number one, non-epistatic interaction, in which two or more genes control the same general character. Examples are typical dihybrid ratio, which gives 9:3:3:1 ratio, same as that of Mendelian dihybrid ratio, and polymeric gene action, which produces 9:6:1 ratio. Number two, epistatic interaction, in which one gene masks the expression of the other and changes the phenotype. Epistasis literally means standing upon. A gene that masks another gene's expression is said to be epistatic, and the gene whose expression is masked by a non-allelic gene is said to be hypostatic. Epistasis is of several types. Number one, dominant epistasis, in which one dominant gene hides the phenotype of the other gene, and F2 cross produces 12:3:1 ratio. Number two, recessive epistasis, which produces 9:3:4 ratio in the F2 generation. In this case, the epistatic gene, if present in homozygous recessive form, will stop the expression of the hypostatic dominant allele. Number third, duplicate dominant epistasis, in which the dominant allele of both the gene loci produce the same phenotype without cumulative effect, and the Mendelian ratio is modified into a 15:1 ratio. Number four, duplicate recessive epistasis, in which both genes are required to produce a particular phenotype and produces 9:7 F2 ratio. Number five, that is dominant and recessive epistasis, in which one dominant gene produces the concerned phenotype and the second gene has the ability to stop the expression of the first gene. In this case, the Mendelian F2 ratio is modified to 13:3. Let us now discuss them one by one. The first case of interaction was discovered by William Bateson and Reginald Punnett by studying the shape of the comb in chicken. These comb-shaped phenotypes are as a result of interactions between two allelic pairs. Crosses made between true breeding rose comb and pea comb varieties showed that all the F1 offsprings are walnut combed, which means a new comb form appears. different from either of the parents. When these F1 walnut comb birds were bred together, another fascinating result was observed in the F2. Not only the walnut, rose and pea comb birds appear, but single combed birds also. These 4 types occurred in the ratio of 9 walnut, 3 rose, 3 pea and 1 single. This ratio has not been named because the ratio looks like the independent assortment. Dear viewers, the overall explanation of the result is that the walnut comb shape depends on the presence of 2 dominant alleles R and P, both of which are located at 2 independently assorting gene loci. The dominant allele of big P along with recessive condition of R gene produces P comb, while that of big R along with the recessive condition of P gene produces rose comb. Recessive condition at both the loci, that is little r, little p, gives single comb shape. Thus, a 9:3:3:1 ratio arises from crossing dihybrid individuals, even though different expressions of the same phenotypic characteristics are involved. The molecular basis for the 4 comb types is not known. At a very general level, it is proposed that the single comb phenotype results from the activities of a number of genes other than the genes R and P. In other words, little r, little p birds do not produce any functional gene products that influence the comb phenotype beyond the basic single appearance. The dominant R allele might produce a gene product that interacts with the products of genes controlling the single comb phenotype to produce a rose comb. Similarly, the dominant P allele might produce a gene product that too interacts with the products of the single comb genes to produce a P-shaped comb. When the products of both the genes R and P alleles are present, they interact to produce a walnut comb. Now the second case, that is polymeric gene interaction, which is observed in fruit shape in summer squash. 2 of many varieties of summer squash have long fruit and sphere-shaped fruit. The long fruit varieties are always true breeding. However, in crosses between some sphere-shaped varieties, F1 fruit is disc-shaped. In such cases, the F2 ratio occurs in the ratio of 9 disc-shaped, 6 sphere-shaped, 1 long-shaped. The explanation to this modification ratio is that the dominant allele alone, A or B, specifies spherical fruit, while the 2 non-allelic dominant alleles A and B interact together to produce a new phenotype, namely disc-shaped fruit. The double homozygous recessive condition gives a long fruit shape. In this case also, the precise molecular basis is not known. However, it is presumed that in double homozygous recessive squash, in the absence of dominant A and dominant B allele products, the functions of other genes determine the long fruit shape. If whether the A or the B allele product is present, the basic shape is modified into a sphere shape. The disc fruit shape presumably occurs through a modification of sphere shape due to the interaction of A and B products. Now let us discuss epistatic interactions. Dear viewers, epistasis should not be confused with dominance. As far as epistasis is concerned, it is the interaction between different genes, that is non-allelic. while as dominance is the interaction between different alleles of the same gene. The first type of epistasis, that is dominant epistasis, as already told, occurs when a dominant allele at one genetic locus masks the expression of the alleles of a second locus. For example, inheritance of fruit color in summer squash. Here, the dominant allele W results in white fruit color, regardless of the phenotype at the second locus, Y. In the absence of dominant W allele, dominant Y results in yellow color, while little y results in green color. Therefore, if two white-colored double heterozygotes are crossed, an interesting phenotypic ratio occurs because of this type of epistasis. Of the 16 offspring, 12 are white, 3 are yellow, while 1 is green. Thus, the modified phenotypic ratio of 12:3:1 occurs. Theoretical biochemical pathway postulates that a white molecule is converted to a green intermediate and then to a yellow end product. It is suggested that the dominant Y allele is required to convert green intermediate to yellow, and dominant W allele inhibits white to green conversion, resulting in white fruit. A variant of dominant epistasis, that is recessive epistasis, occurs in the development of coat color in mice. When a pure breeding black mouse is crossed with a pure breeding albino mouse, all of the offsprings are agouti. What agouti is? Agouti is an overall grayish color with a brindled appearance. The effect is caused by a band of yellow on the otherwise dark hair shaft. When the F1 agouti mice are crossed with each other, agouti, black and albino offsprings appear in the F2 generation in the ratio of 9:3:4. Dear viewers, it is now known that 3 gene loci are involved in the phenotypes of mouse color. At one locus, the dominant C allele specifies a product that is necessary for the production of any pigment in the coat. The recessive C allele, when homozygous, prevents pigment formation regardless of the genotypes of the other coat color genes, and hence the mice are albino. The allele B of the second locus specifies a product that governs the synthesis of black pigment. The recessive allele B, when homozygous, results in brown pigment. At the third locus, the dominant allele A specifies a product that determines the agouti factor. It is recessive allele A in the homozygous state which produces non-agouti mice in which color is determined by the other color gene present. This later locus is relevant to the example only insofar as the basic hair color is black. Since in this case the homozygous recessive condition of one gene C is epistatic over big A, that is agouti, and big B, which specifies pigment color black, this kind of epistasis is known as recessive epistasis. Another kind of epistatic interaction, that is duplicate dominant epistasis, was reported by George Schell in 1914 in the common weed shepherd's purse plant. There are two varieties of seed capsule, a triangular seed capsule and an oval seed capsule. The triangular seed capsule is controlled by two dominant genes T and D independently. Any one dominant gene can produce triangular seed capsule. The recessive genes produce oval seed capsule. When these two varieties are crossed, the resulting F1 plants produce triangular seed capsule. When the F1 hybrids are selfed, triangular seed and oval seed capsules are produced in the ratio of 15:1 in the F2 generation. So here in this case, big T is epistatic to big D and little d. Similarly, big D is epistatic to big T and little t. In one more kind of epistatic interaction called duplicate recessive epistasis, which was first discovered by Batson and Punnett in flower color in sweet peas. There are two varieties of this plant, one producing purple flower and the other white flower. Purple is dominant for flower color, and when a true breeding purple plant is crossed with a true breeding white one, the F2 shows a typical 3:1 ratio. White strains usually bred true, but occasionally the crosses of two different white strains will produce an F1 that is entirely purple, and F2 of this cross will be 9 purple and 7 white. Two genes appear to be involved. The C alleles determine whether the flower have color, and the P allele determine whether purple is produced. The purple color of the flower is due to the presence of a pigment called anthocyanins. This pigment is produced from a colorless substance called chromogen by the action of an enzyme or activator. The chromogen cannot be converted into anthocyanins in the absence of the enzyme. Thus, for the production of purple color, both chromogen and enzyme should be present in the plant. In the absence of any one, no color will be produced, hence white. A dominant gene C is responsible for the production of chromogen. When this gene is recessive, the chromogen cannot be produced. Similarly, another dominant gene P is responsible for the production of an enzyme which converts the chromogen into anthocyanins. When this gene is recessive, the enzyme cannot be produced, and thus chromogen cannot be converted into anthocyanins. Purple flower is produced by the interaction of both dominant genes C and P. Another additional modification called dominant and recessive epistasis was discovered by Batson and Punnett in 1908 in coat color in chicken. White feathered leghorn type poultry, when crossed with another white feathered Wyandotte breed of poultry, then in F1 only white offsprings were obtained, and in the F2 the majority of birds were white, but some colored birds also appeared. The proportion of white to colored chickens was approximately 13:3. In this interaction, one of the two completely dominant genes, here gene A, produces the concerned phenotype, while the recessive allele in homozygous state produces the contrasting phenotype. The second dominant gene, here gene B, has no effect of its own on the character. However, it has the ability to inhibit the expression of the dominant allele of the first gene. Thus, in this interaction, one dominant inhibitory gene prevents the expression of another dominant gene. As a result, when the two dominant genes are present together, they produce the same phenotype as that produced by the recessive homozygote of the first gene, and thus the F2 phenotypic ratio becomes 13:3. So, in this case, big A is epistatic to big B and little b. Little b is epistatic to A, big A and little a. Dear viewers, as you noticed in all the above cases that two or more genes can interact to determine one character, and the classical phenotypic ratio of 9:3:3:1 is modified into subsets such as 9:6:1, 12:3:1, 9:3:4, 15:1, 9:7 and 13:3. So it can be concluded that genetic interactions occur whenever two or more genes specify enzymes that catalyze steps in a common pathway. Okay? I would like to close with this note that quantitative traits can be explained by the cumulative effect of a number of genes. Thank you.